In this presentation, we will create a Memorize report group where we can store and save our custom reports, our memorized reports to within QuickBooks Pro 2020, QuickBooks Desktop 2020. Here is our Get Great Guitars file. We currently have the Open Windows open. You can open the Open Windows by selecting the View dropdown and the Open Windows list. We're now going to be considering the memorization of reports. Very useful to have the memorization of reports. It can have different types of functions to it. If we are a single user and we're the only person that uses the QuickBooks, then we can have our custom reports that we want to memorize that we have changed in some way possibly to customize the reports. If we have different people working in the QuickBooks file, then we could save and memorize reports under basically our file name, our name in the memorized reports section, and then have our own basically memorized reports in that way as well. How would we do this? First, let's think of a report and what the memorize option would be on the report, and then we'll think about where we want to save those memorized reports. To do that, we're going to go to the reports drop down up top. We're going to go to our favorite report. It's going to be under the company and financial. We'll be going down to that balance sheet standard report. Within the balance sheet standard report, I'm going to change the dates. I only need the one this time at 12/31/20. Now, let's say we altered this report in some way. Let's say, for example, we went to the customized reports. We went to the header and footer options. We removed the date prepared, time prepared, and report basis, and then said OK. And let's say we want to just basically save that, so that is the default within our memorized report. We can then go to the memorize option here, and it'll go through the memorizing options. However, if we want to have a custom place to locate it, then we need to set up that custom place. In other words, if I went to save in the memorized report group and I select the drop down, these are memorized reports groups that have been set up by QuickBooks. But perhaps I want a custom place to save it. Perhaps I can save it by my name in it, and that might be useful again if we had multiple users using the QuickBooks file, or I might want to save it in some type of custom name of the reports that I use periodically in some fashion. So therefore, I'm going to close out of this. We're going to then, in this presentation, look to create the location where we can save the memorized report. Then in a next presentation, we'll go and actually save that memorized report. So to do that, we're going to go to the reports dropdown. We're going to go to the report center up top. Within the report center, I'm going to go ahead and maximize the screen so we can see it on the full screen. We then have the standard reports. The second tab then is our memorized reports. We're going to go into the memorized reports tab. We have then these options that we saw before: the accounting, banking, company, customers, employees, and vendors. So these are kind of like the default options of the memorized reports. If we want to then add another report to it, we could go up top here and say we want to edit the memorized list. So we're going to edit the memorized list. You can see up top then we have the headings. We got the account and then the reports that are included within them. You can edit these. For example, if you don't need the balance sheet in here, if you don't want the balance sheet in here, these are just basically default accounts. You can right click on it and you can delete it. So you can delete the memorized report out of here. You can adjust the names up top. So if you don't want to create new memorized reports, or you want to replace the ones that are here if these are not useful to you, which they may not be, because this is pretty general information that you might have somewhere else and you might want different memorized categories altogether. You could then go down here and edit. So you can edit the memorized report, and we can just simply edit the name to it here. So note, you may just want to go in here and say, hey, these aren't useful. This isn't how I want to memorize my custom reports. All these reports can already be found in the reports center. If I want my reports here, I want them to be all customized. You may go into here and just say, I would like to delete all these, put in my own headings and set them up as I would want. For example, you might set it up to say that I would like these to be my month-end reports that I will generate for my clients. And you might have the quarterly reports or the yearly reports, and they might be formatted slightly different depending on period as to when you're going to be reporting the reports. You may also want to set it up by user. You might say, hey, these are my reports. When someone else goes back in here, if the different user uses the QuickBooks file, they can memorize their reports in their own settings. So to do that, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to just basically put a name or an initial. So I'm going to create a new setting or a new area to memorize the reports. I'm going to select the memorize reports drop down, or in this case, a rise up. We want to then have a new group. So we're going to create a new group then, and all we have is the name for that group. And I'm just going to call it my reports. And again, you could put a name for it or something like that, just so we have this to see it as a custom field. Then we'll say OK. And now we have my reports. Now note where it's located. It's located by alphabetical order. So that's how the default that it has to be located. So wherever you put your name, wherever it happens to be, it'll locate in that fashion. If you want it to be on top, then start it with an AA, something like that, or delete whatever's currently in here and add your reports in that way. Then, of course, if we went back to our balance sheet report and we then go to the memorize option, we can then save the report and save it then to the place where we want, which will be the My Report. We'll do that in a future presentation.